Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Fantasy Pros Dynasty Football Podcast. I'm Ryan Wormeli, joined as always by Pat Fitzmaurice and by Scott Bogman. Fellas, we are talking some Dynasty risers, some standouts here in the preseason. These can be names that are further down in drafts or, consider less valuable fantasy assets in Dynasty, or they could be bigger names and guys that we already had some hype about that are just getting even more helium here throughout August. So we are looking at this through the Dynasty perspective and guys whose our evaluation maybe hasn't drastically changed, but changed enough to be worth mentioning as kind of we're excited about and are standing out here in August. And maybe there are some guys where there is hype and we don't agree they should be rising up. We'll get to all of that here throughout the show. Quick reminder for everybody that all of our 2025 consensus rankings and tiers can be found at fantasypros.com/rankings. You can navigate to the Dynasty rankings from there as well. We're going to go through kind of position by position. Then we'll hit on maybe some deeper league targets that are, more positionless, just kind of some names that stand out to us. This isn't going to be you guys making picks. This is just going to be kind of some general names that there's a lot of discussion about and what do we think? So we'll try and keep this pretty conversational here throughout today's episode. We're going to start at the running back position because really there's no place other than Jacory Croskey-Merritt that we could have reasonably started, AKA Bill. And he's somebody who, as of quite recently, was in the RB 70, 80 range, something like that. And we now see him in real-time ADP for redraft leagues is up in that into the RB 30s, early 40s, probably going to rise even higher, honestly, I would imagine. From the dynasty perspective, though, maybe more of a runway opening as well fits in Washington, just in terms of a lot of rumors as of the time we're taping this, still just rumors, but about trading Brian Robinson Jr. away. So when you look at Jacory Croskey-Merritt as a dynasty value, where do you place him right now?
Well, first of all, I'm glad you said we were going to talk about some other players too. I thought this might be an all Bill show because the demand for Bill content is so immense these days. But so right now I've got him in the I feel like I'm conservatively ranking him RB 37 in Dynasty. And certainly it's been an exciting ascendance for him. And what a bizarre development. Brian Robinson held out of the second preseason game because they're reportedly trying to trade him. So I think the one thing we should maybe not lose sight of here is I think maybe the Commanders' comfort level with being willing to put Brian Robinson on the block has something to do with just the totality of their backfield right now. And it's not just their excitement with Jacory Croskey-Merritt, which I do think is legitimate, but also just their comfort with Chris Rodriguez being able to contribute in this backfield and with Austin Eckler to just hold down the passing down, third down back job. So, yeah, they're excited about him. I don't know. I don't want to lose sight of the great Royce Freeman hype of whatever it was 8 years ago.
You even say the Kamani Vidal hope from last season.
Yeah, Vidal. I mean, I don't think Vidal ever reached the heights that Croskey-Merritt is getting
Not
right
quite.
now.
I feel like the comp for me in terms of mid to late August helium is Dameon Pierce, who started at a higher point than Croskey-Merritt was in the rankings. But I do remember making jokes on Twitter from the Fantasy Pros account about me drafting Dameon Pierce in the 4th round, which at the beginning of August would have sounded crazy. But then when it became apparent he was going to be a starter for the Texans that season, it became there was no limit to how early you were taking Dameon Pierce. And I know
Philip
it's a lot
Lindsay
of it.
is a name that launches
Lindsay,
off the
yes.
top of my head. He was undrafted,
So
Bill was drafted, but that's another name late in the process.
Yeah, so listen to some of these names that are coming out and where those careers wound up going. So maybe these are some cautionary tales. And I know that if people have Jacory Croskey-Merritt fell backwards into him in the 5th round of a rookie draft, and you're getting some impressive offers in dynasty trades, weigh those trades heavily because you could potentially turn a profit here. Not that Croskey-Merritt isn't going to have value, but I do wonder what his ceiling is since he does not have a real exciting pass catching profile, and dynasty leagues are almost always full PPR.
What kind of pick would you be offering? Let's say you are trying to add to your running back depth, or maybe you see him as a good youth investment at the position, Bogman. What kind of picks would you be offering to get Croskey-Merritt on your team in a dynasty format?
The highest I would give is a second for next year. I don't even know if I would do a second for 27 because that class looks loaded. So a second for next year, I think is probably fair. But that could still be a little bit of a reach. And I moved him up significantly, but he's still behind some guys who I think are more complete backs that just flat out don't have the role. Like I still have Ray Davis ahead of him, still have Jordan Mason ahead of him. Like I think those guys probably for the long run maybe are better backs, but the opportunity is there for old Bill here.
Yeah, that's the neighborhood I have Croskey-Merritt in too, like right around those guys, Mason and Ray Davis. I think they're within 2 spots of Bill for me also, Boggs. And I think your answer was exactly right, a second rounder. And I think very few people would take that if they're holding Croskey-Merritt right now.
And you know what? I don't
It's just
disagree
kind of
with
how
that
it
either.
is.
I
Yeah.
think that right now he's at a teetering point, right? He can either move way past that in value or be a nothing really by the end of the season. So he's at the teetering point right now. It's not a really good time to trade him if you're rostering him. You should listen, like Fitzy said, because his value may be peaking now. But like if you ask me, Jacory Croskey-Merritt versus let me just take a look here. Fitzy, my RB ranking somewhere in that neighborhood versus Tootin, right? Like that's another rookie, but he's not getting near the buzz. But during the process, we were much higher on Tootin than Croskey-Merritt. What do you think between those two?
That's a tough one. Yeah, I mean, I do think that's a really good starting point.
I've got
Because I think that
JCM
yeah.
ahead because it's positive news for him, right? Like in terms of skill, they're probably fairly close. We just know more of Tootin because he didn't play at Alabama State and then a season at New Mexico and then play one game at Arizona, right? Like we just know a little bit more about Tootin. So, but the peak is nice here for JCM, but it could go a little bit higher. It also could be nothing. So listen to
Yeah, it
those
was a
trades, but also if it's not like I have to do this, then probably don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, the way you view Jacory Croskey-Merritt says a lot about how you value like pedigree in draft picks because he doesn't have pedigree, but he has like people at Commanders training camp in Ashburn, Virginia have just been like apparently from day one it was kind of like oohs and ahs whenever this guy touched the ball. Like he has been really exciting, but played at Alabama State and wasn't really considered that extraordinary and played, one pretty good year at New Mexico and then eligibility issues at Arizona. Really good pro day, 4.45 speed and a 41.5-inch vertical jump. The guy's an athlete for sure, but definitely a strange profile. Let me drill down one more degree on this with you guys. Like say you had Jacory Croskey-Merritt and someone offered you Trey Harris for him. Are you taking that deal?
I don't think I am.
I think I would, unless it was like, hey, I'm trying to win now and I don't really have any running back depth and I like just need it. Like I want to have a good running back bench piece for this season or maybe a starter. But in a vacuum, if it's like agnostic about my positional needs on my roster and my contention versus rebuilding, I would rather have Harris in a vacuum.
Yeah, I think I'm with you, Worm. I'm maybe just a little too much of a pedigree snob, and I think I would probably prefer Harris.
Well, what I wanted to follow up on this about is what are we doing with Chris Rodriguez? If we assume that Brian Robinson is going to be gone, and that's why we're all excited about Bill, is there interest in Dynasty and taking a fly? He's probably available even in deep Dynasty leagues, a guy like Chris Rodriguez. Maybe not now at this point after a couple of days, but he certainly was, I think, before all this in all of my Dynasty leagues. So is Rodriguez, Bogman, somebody that you're interested in picking up as a flyer? Or if you have Brian Robinson and we're counting on him and you can't get Croskey-Merritt, would you send a 5th rounder rookie draft pick for Chris Rodriguez?
Yeah, I think that's fair, right? Like, because it does look like he's going to have an expanded role here. And I moved him down from like the 100s to the 70s, somewhere in that neighborhood. I do think that when we look at Chris Rodriguez in a couple years, it's going to be all right. This was a first, second down thumper. He had some goal line work in 2025, which was nice because it traded Brian Robinson, but that's about it. I think Chris Rodriguez is a good back for the world, for the NFL. He's a Jag. And I think he will be probably replaced next year when they draft someone, a thumper, a downhill runner to pair with Jacory Croskey-Merritt.
What do you think, Fitz?
Yeah, I've got him in the 70s too, which I think I had him outside the top 100 at running back
I had him at like
before
113 before this.
before things started to move and shake. But the one thing to know about Chris Rodriguez, I think, and the reason maybe the dynasty upside is pretty limited, 20 catches in 45 career college games at Kentucky.
Yeah, and Croskey-Merritt, you even mentioned, not a prolific pass catcher in 34 catches, so more than that.
Yeah.
Let's look at some other backfields, and this isn't going to strictly be rookies, but it is going to be a little rookie heavy just because those are the guys that we're seeing for the first time in game action and are kind of, tend to be most interested in from the dynasty perspective. There are going to be some other young players in the list, including Braelon Allen, who, of course, is not a rookie, young running back for the Jets. Seems more and more like this is going to be some kind of a committee split backfield this season, which, it might hurt Breece Hall, but it's a benefit to somebody like Braelon Allen, who, has some talent, is really young, who flashed at times early in his career in Wisconsin, who Fitz knows well. So when you look at Allen, or maybe even any other Jets, right, like Isaiah Davis or somebody in this backfield, do you think they've moved up enough to be exciting from I want to go out and trade for these guys in dynasty perspective?
I mean, I think Allen is a pretty exciting talent just because this is a guy who's always been pretty advanced for his age. Played the entirety of his rookie season at age 20. He was the youngest guy in the 2024 draft. And it was kind of a mixed bag. Like some of his advanced metrics are not too flattering, but it's not like the Jets offense was a juggernaut last year. And I like, this guy is a nice combination of like power, vision, footwork, and he's still so young. I mean, this was a dude who, as a freshman at Wisconsin, played at 17 years old and had 1,200 rushing yards and 12 touchdowns. So he's always kind of been ahead of the curve. And even though Braelon Allen, we're kind of sounding like a broken record here, warning about the lack of receiving productivity, I don't think Allen is a real smooth pass catcher. They tried to get him a little more involved in that part of the game late in his college career. I just don't think he's ever going to have like 40 or 50 catch upside, but a guy who potentially, depending on how things work out with the Jets backfield, I think could be a perennial 1,000-yard runner eventually.
I want to ask similar to what we asked about with Bill, Jacory Croskey-Merritt. I'm going to keep calling him Bill just because it's easy. What would you give up for somebody like Braelon Allen? Like, it sounds like less so than with Corskey-Merritt. You're not looking to say like, well, let's sell high on some of the hype. Like maybe you can turn a profit with Jacory Croskey-Merritt. With Braelon Allen, if you're more interested in acquiring him, what would you give up to get him, Fitz?
I mean, I certainly would give up a second round 2026 pick for Braelon Allen. Whereas, I'm not Croskey-Merritt. I guess I would with both guys, but I do have Braelon Allen ranked. Well, I guess I've got him ranked right in the same neighborhood as Croskey-Merritt, but I don't know. I think I feel a little bit better about, just a smidge better about Braelon Allen because of the better
more
pedigree.
Touchdown upside for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you make of Braelon Allen, Bogman, and really this backfield in general? Are you particularly interested in any one guy here in Dynasty?
I still like Breece Hall, and Fitz and I have gone back and forth. This will be about round 10 on this, and I'm just willing to make the mistake that Breece Hall, I still think, is a much better back than both the other backs. And I get we have coach speak and we have evidence on the field of this is going to be more split than I give it credit for. I just think when it boils down and the game is on the line, you're going to see Breece out there way more than you see Braelon Allen. It doesn't mean that is the end story for Braelon Allen. I have him right in the range of JCM, just like Fitzy does here. I just think my overall outlook on this backfield is just weird. And I feel like the best thing for this would be, let's get Breece Hall in a midseason trade like CMC kind of to a contender where he can go and be the main guy of a team that's missing a running back. And we can see a nice split working between Allen and Isaiah Davis. Because I kind of think Isaiah Davis is a more complete back than Braelon Allen. I do think Braelon Allen's ceiling is higher because he's a better first, second down guy. And if you're going to get those downs, you're going to get volume. You're going to be on the field more. But I like Isaiah Davis too. So I just really don't like this backfield right now.
Bogman, let's stick with you. I want to talk about the Houston backfield and specifically like with Joe Mixon, having this extended injury stuff. There's an opening here. Now, one of the running backs that might fill it is not really a dynasty, value in Nick Chubb, unless you're in win now, I guess, and think he is going to be the starter and is going to bounce back well from his own injury. But Woody Marks is the guy that I've seen most often as like maybe this is somebody who elevates into a stronger role right away. He's obviously a rookie coming in. He was what round was he taken in this year? I can't remember.
I believe 5th.
Was it the 5th? At any rate, he, it's somebody who maybe could step into a role here in Houston. We're hoping it's an improved offensive line this season.
4th.
We're hoping for a bounce back from CJ Stroud. So what do you make, Bogman, of Woody Marks, or if you want to highlight anybody else in this backfield?
Yeah, this is with no ambiguity, because I think I like all of the backs for the Jets, which is why I don't like the Jets situation. I don't like any of the backs here. So I really don't like this knee injury and the news that Fitz gave us, maybe a little inside baseball there where this could extend into the season. We've seen no good reports about Joe Mixon right now. So I lowered his value pretty significantly because I don't know what's going to happen with him for this year, and I don't know what the runway for him to get healthy is next season. How bad is this knee injury? Is it going to be surgery and he's back midway through and he looks good, or is this going to be let's shut him down and it's a major surgery? I just don't like that whole scenario. Behind him, we've seen Dameon Pierce not do it. We know Nick Chubb is old, so Woody Marks seems like the guy, but to me, I think Woody Marks, coming from Mississippi State, playing at USC last season, is more of a pass catching back. I think that's his role in the NFL moving forward. I don't think he's going to be a 3-down back. So I think that the replacement is Mr. Outside Hire here. I think next year we get the Texans to draft someone significantly high or sign somebody. So I don't really like this whole scenario at all. I think Woody Marks has a role, and for this year, he's got a runway to perform. So, there's upside there. There's ceiling, but I'm not going out of my way to go get Woody Marks.
Marks was a 4th-round pick. I looked it up.
Yeah.
Not 5th. So, not a nothing, use of draft capital by the Texans. Fitz, do you think he's somebody that's worth investing in Dynasty right now? Just like the names ahead of him on the depth chart, if you just look at their official depth chart on the site, Nick Chubb, Dameon Pierce, Dare Ogunbowale, not exactly guys we're super excited about in Dynasty at this stage in any of their careers. But at the same time, he's listed as 4th, and he is a day 3 rookie and maybe more of a pass catching role. So is he somebody that you're interested in?
I'm not really speculating too aggressively on anyone in the Texans backfield, mainly because I'm sort of put off by them potentially having the worst offensive line in the league. But the Mixon foot thing is horrifying. I've dropped him down to RB 36 in Dynasty, and I worry that I'm still 10 spots too high on him. Marks, I'm kind of with Boggs. I think pass catching back is sort of his ceiling. He's already 24. He's an older prospect, so that's a little bit of a turnoff. And I think Boggs is probably right that the Texans back to speculate in is probably someone they don't have yet, like Jeremiah Love or Nicholas Singleton from next year's class. So I'm just not going out of my way to try to obtain anyone from the Texans.
Last running back I want to ask about is TreVeyon Henderson. Now, this is obviously somebody that we already liked. He was going in the first rounds of rookie drafts this May. Was an early 2nd-round pick, explosive player. Again, I don't need to sell you on TreVeyon Henderson, but he's had a great August, and the hype has been, even more excited for him. Bogman and I were on a mock draft episode. This is a redraft, not Dynasty, but we did a mock draft episode that we taped earlier today, and he was an early 4th-round pick. He is somebody that's moving up a lot. Fitz had him as RB8 in Dynasty, I believe, kind of coming into this August. Fitz was higher. Bogman, have you started to bridge that gap between where you had him and where Fitz has him? You are a guy who tends to prefer to go for veterans rather than youth, but Henderson has just looked so good. Are you moving him up at all?
I haven't, and it's not out of lack of respect for Henderson. I think he's great. But I am more win now. Ramondre Stevenson is still there. I think Henderson's way better. By the end of the year, it's going to be way more Henderson. And I think by the end of the year might be by the end of September, right? I do think Henderson is great, but I don't know. I still have could I move him ahead of Walker?
Breece Hall?
I can move him ahead of Walker and Jacobs. I just don't. I like the contract extensions for Kyron. I like the contract extension for James Cook. I like them in those good offenses. So I probably won't move him ahead of those guys. Those guys are who I would have considered before their contract extensions. That would have made him like RB9 for me. So right around that Fitz version or that Fitz ranking. But I would put him in that group. I just put him at the bottom of that group. That's all.
See, you say you prefer win now. I think he is win now. I don't really care about Ramondre Stevenson. I just think Henderson is, and you sound like you don't really care all that much either. Like
you put him ahead of Chase Brown immediately.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, not in redraft, but
yeah, definitely not in redraft.
Right. And that's what that's all I'm saying is like, I think the volume comes not this year completely, probably at the end of this year. I think next year is the big volume year for Henderson. So if I'm trying to win right now, I think I'd still rather have Chase Brown. That's all.
I think there's a world where a year from now, TreVeyon Henderson is the consensus like RB6 in Dynasty.
Yep.
Like Bijan, Gibbs, Genty, Saquon if he has another great year, Amari Hampton. I could see a case for him passing pretty much everybody except those guys. And maybe even Barkley if he gets injured and falls off and he's a size RB5. Like if Achane has an injury riddle year, if Bucky Irving comes back to earth a little, Jonathan Taylor is going to be 27 next year. Breece Hall might lose the job entirely. Kyron Williams might finally not get this crazy usage. Like there's a lot of question marks there. There's some question marks with Henderson because we haven't seen him do it with a full workload this season, but the upside is just really enticing. And
everything's rosy for Henderson right now, right? And I agree with you, Worm. I think the potential is absolutely there. He had injury issues as a full-time workload guy at Ohio State. I think he was good in a two-back system, and I think that ultimately overall limits his touches in his career. Not now, it does for Achane too, and Achane is awesome. So could he easily be up there? Yes. But right now, I have those volume guys just a little bit ahead of him. That's all.
Fitz, you were already high on Henderson. And I think one of the highest that I had seen in Dynasty rankings heading into August. I assume you haven't moved him up anymore just because he was already starting at such a high point for you. But I also have to assume you've been really happy with what you've seen.
Yes, very happy. Hard to move him much higher, though. Like I still have him behind Bucky Irving, and I could certainly make the case that he's the more valuable potential dynasty asset than Bucky Irving. That's the thing. Like in redraft right now, I've got him behind guys like Kenneth Walker, Breece Hall, James Cook. But could he have a better 2025 season than those guys? Absolutely. And I think the ceiling is something approaching Jahmyr Gibbs as a guy who is not going to be a full-on workhorse, but is going to be really, really productive as part of a two-man backfield.
I love the idea of trading away Bucky Irving and getting TreVeyon Henderson plus something else. I am a big fan
like that
of that
too.
If you could, but I think the Henderson investors right now are so far over the moon. They're probably not doing that.
Maybe
they didn't watch Bucky catch that touchdown. Looked like a whiteout.
I would say the same thing with Achane, honestly, just given the injury stuff there. Like if I could trade Achane, and I would want more than what I would ask for if I was trading away Bucky. But Achane for Henderson plus another significant piece, like I would be looking to make a move like that.
That's the thing. It's going to be hard for Henderson because the people who drafted him in the rookie drafts, they've opened the new toy at Christmas and have not started to play with the new toy yet. They're going to want to play with that new toy before they deal.
But so the great point that you make here, Worm, and another good point for you, Fitzy, is after week 1, if we see 18 touches from Stevenson and 12 from Henderson, that's when you go make that type of an offer.
Yes.
Now people are disappointed. We saw week 1 and he didn't get the volume you expected. Now you make that type of move. So I like the points from both you guys there.
By now, most of you have probably heard of Reality Sports Online, the powerful fantasy sports platform where owners get to build and manage their fantasy team like an NFL general manager. But the question is, have you tried it? It's time to go see what all the buzz in the Dynasty community is about. Free agency, multi-year contracts, or rookie drafts, multi-team trades, franchise tags, contract extensions, first-round rookie options, automated contract and salary cap functionality, and much, much more. Think it sounds complicated? It's not. The best thing about Reality Sports Online fantasy front office is that it doesn't take any more time than a standard league. It just requires more strategy. Think you're among the fantasy elite? Well, this is the platform to test your mettle. Still not sure? You can test out your general manager skills for free in a mock free agency auction. If you like what you see, use promo code FANTASYPROS to receive a 10% discount on your team or league today. That's promo code FANTASYPROS to receive a 10% discount on your team or league today. Fantasy just got real at realitysportsonline.com. I want to ask you guys before I move on about your Reality Sports Online draft. I was not a part of this draft. It sounds like, though, it finally happened over the weekend. And Bogman, you were the price enforcer. Am I understanding that correctly?
Oh lordy. I mean, this was one of the most fun experiences I've ever had drafting. It was a back and forth battle with Fitz and the listeners. I did gaslight Fitz a couple times, throwing out the players I knew he liked. He did the same back to me as well. We were both kind of running out of money at the end and going back and forth. I had spent too much at the end. I didn't spend enough in the beginning. It's one of those, I immediately regret this decision on not getting some players early, but I do like the roster that I ended up with at the end. But it was so much fun, Fitzy. It was a good time.
It was a blast. My final tweak of Bogman was outbidding him on Marvin Mims at the end. I just decided I couldn't let Boggs have Marvin Mims. But yeah, I mean, I've been in a lot of auctions in fantasy football before, and this was by far the most fun and most intense auction I've ever been in, because when you throw the contracts into it and having this number of multi-year contracts available that you can spend, and just the increasing, it does feel like you're dueling with all these other GMs trying to woo the players with your contract offers. It's a phenomenal format and a heck of a lot of fun, so I highly recommend it.
I want you guys to bring this up throughout the year when we're talking about players on your team. Who has the better team between two of you? Who's contending now? I assume Bogman, just because he's a win now guy.
I have a lot of depth because I didn't spend my money initially. My cousin's going to help me run it, so he was there with me. So we were going back and forth on the players we like and stuff. So I have my roster's pretty solid. I'll say I'll probably be a contender this year.
Fitz, are you a productive struggle guy or?
No, definitely not. I mean, it's super flex, and I'm rolling out. I've got Jaden Daniels under a 4-year contract and Patrick Mahomes for 2 years, so that's a pretty good start.
Nice. That sounds super fun. I'm looking forward to hearing more about it throughout the season. Let's get into our wide receiver risers here. Not as many of them as on the running back side, but there were really two standouts that I just felt like we had to talk about. One of them a rookie, one of them a second-year player. Let's start with the rookie, Emeka Embuka, somebody who, like, the drumbeat in Buccaneers camp has just been like getting louder and louder all season. These, like, Baker Mayfield and the coaching staff and just everybody in Tampa is bringing up his name unprompted at every possibility. Like, it just seems like they really love having Embuka around. And also, we've had these other developments with Jalen McMillan having this neck injury that's going to cost him months of the season. Chris Godwin, he's off PUP, but they're saying he's still, October is kind of the goal to come back. So there's this runway for Embuka to be a top 2 receiver on this team. And I know we didn't see a drop off from Mike Evans last season, but he is into his 30s, so it wouldn't be unheard of when receivers hit that cliff. It usually does come fast. I don't expect that to happen for Mike Evans, but it's not off the table that could happen. So there's a world where maybe even Embuka starts off the year like quickly becoming one of the number 1 guys. I think it's more likely number 2. That's still a great place to be with Baker Mayfield as your quarterback and a team that has historically been a strong passing unit in the last couple of years. It is a different play caller here. So that is a whole lot of me prefacing just how high should Emeka Embuka be ranked, Fitz, in Dynasty right now? Because it feels like even as a guy that we really liked going into the NFL draft and got mid-first round draft capital, which is really strong, it still feels like his value is only going up.
I've catapulted him up to wide receiver 15 in Dynasty, 1 spot behind Teteroa McMillan. Embuka was a phenomenal prospect, got first-round draft capital. Maybe we didn't like the landing spot initially, but since the time he was drafted, it has been like the Red Sea parting for Emeka Embuka with just, Chris Godwin, like, slow recovery. Is he even running and doing football stuff right now? I don't know that he is. Jalen McMillan now with the neck thing that looks like it's going to be a problem and probably cost him the entire season, or at least most of it. Like, it gives Embuka this runway to get going right away in year 1. And we were maybe thinking, okay, he's a really good asset for the future, but 2025 could be tough. No, he's going to get targets right away, I think. And so possible he is a guy you're starting right away in week 1 in 2025. And like, I just think the future is so bright. It's been nothing but a Keith Moon-like drumbeat for him in training camp with how well he's performed, how well liked he is by everyone on his team, how what a worker he is. Like, everything has just been so positive. It's hard not to vault him up in your dynasty rankings.
Bogman, what do you think about Embuka at this point in time?
Yeah, I mean, I moved him way up. I was, kind of like okay, well, we have Mike Evans, and I am a big Mike Evans fan. We have Chris Godwin, and we have a good rookie they drafted last year in Jalen McMillan. But my thought process the entire time was, look, he's better than Godwin already. And I just don't think he's as good as Mike Evans, but Godwin is now going to miss a significant chunk. McMillan had the bad neck injury. So the volume just spikes for him. It goes way up. So I told you guys I had a tier in my wide receiver grouping from 16 to 26. And initially I had McMillan at the bottom of it. He has since moved to the top because it's just been nonstop love fest on Tet McMillan. So he's my wide receiver 16 right now, but I also moved Embuka up into that group. So I have him right now as wide receiver 27, but that can easily move up. But he's in that tier. So anywhere between, wide receiver 15, 16, where Fitz has him, to 27, like that's the acceptable range to me.
So let me loop in the other guy I want to talk about, which is Ricky Pearsall, who, similar to Embuka, part of him moving up is what's been going on around him. The wide receiver room for the Niners just feels very cursed in terms of their injury luck. Interestingly, this is in redraft, not dynasty, but in FantasyPros there's a new feature called real-time ADP, which shows you not like what the ADP is for the season, but what it looks like, how are these guys moving around in actual recent drafts. It's a really cool new feature everybody should check out. Ricky Pearsall is one spot ahead amongst wide receivers, Emeka Embuka. So again, similar age. So in redraft, probably a similar maybe evaluation. In dynasty, I think it sounds like we like Embuka better, even though he's one spot behind him in redraft, but they're very neck and neck. Do you see a wide gap there, Bogman, between Pearsall and Embuka?
Not wide. I have Pearsall 36. I have Embuka 27. So that's, 9 spots, that somewhere in that range, but they're both wide receiver 3s to me.
Fitz, do you see a gap there? I mean, you said you have Embuka pretty high.
Yeah, I think there's a gap. I mean, I've got Pearsall in the 30s, a wide receiver. Like, he's a good prospect for sure. And thing is, it's not crystal clear he is the best wide receiver on the 49ers roster right now. I guess you could say the same thing about
the only healthy one.
Mike Evans. Yeah, he is, and he dealt with some injury issues of his own, but certainly encouraging to see him in the second preseason game play that first drive with the starters, go to the bench after the starters played, and oh, by the way, on his one drive, he was targeted 4 times and had 3 catches for like 40 some yards. So nice to see that sort of involvement. And like, Brandon Ayuk potentially missing the first half of the season gives him a nice opportunity to be on the field constantly and establish himself as a regular contributor to this passing game.
So I feel like obviously, Fitz, you, given your ranking, would give up like a late 2026 first for Embuka. What would you give up for, and correct me if I'm wrong, by the way, but what would you give up for Pearsall? Is a first too much? It feels like a second wouldn't get it done. Maybe like 2 seconds. What would be the right thing you'd be looking at?
Yeah, you're right. I think it's not quite a first, Worm, but also a second isn't enough. So it would have to be a second plus, a veteran plus a pick, something like that.
Bogman, what would you give up for both these guys?
I think the late first for both of them is fine for next year. I think that's paying up, right? But I think that's fine. So specifically for Embuka, who I have ranked higher, but I would probably pay the same for Pearsall, but a second would definitely get it done for me. But I think you're right. I think it would take more than just a second. It'd have to be 2 seconds or 2 and a 3 or 2 and a 3 in a defense. Like, just, you got to squeeze a little more value out of Pearsall than just a second next year.
Hold up, Boggs. You would, if there was a good team in your dynasty league knocking on your door saying that like they would give you their 2026 pick next year, and you have reason to think it's like a bottom 4 pick, you would give up Embuka for that?
No, I want Embuka for that.
Okay.
So right. I want Pearsall and Embuka. That's what I was saying. I would take both of them for that late first, not give them up for that late first. So I would do the same thing for Pearsall, which you didn't seem to agree with.
Fitz, would you give up Pearsall for a late first? I know you wouldn't maybe spend one on him. So by that logic, would you give him up for one?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty close to what he's worth, I think. And
You're deep
I
at
might,
wide receiver. I believe in Pearsall.
yeah.
Pearsall was I think he might have been my one of my 2-3 year contracts, Fitzy. So
I just feel like
I'm
there's a
buying
chance
in
he's
on
a
it here.
top 20 receiver this year. And now you're looking at a young guy in a Kyle Shanahan offense who, they have the quarterback locked up long term. And
It's within the realm of possibility, Warren, but it's also fair to say that maybe Ayuk comes back and is the number one again. Like, it seems like a long shot if he's going to start on the pup, but it's within the realm of possibility. So,
yeah, if you've got
you just have to write both sides. That's all.
Yeah. If you've got any startup drafts coming up, let Draft Assistant be your guide. Draft Assistant connects directly to your draft and provides both real-time pick suggestions and estimations on which players might get taken before your next pick. Draft Assistant fully integrates your customized cheat sheets and suggests picks based on your rankings, team build, ADP, and other factors. Dominate your draft in real time without the guesswork with Draft Assistant at fantasypros.com/assistant or on the Fantasy Football Draft Wizard app. Try it for free during your drafts by claiming your 3-day trial of Fantasy Pros Premium at fantasypros.com/premium. All right, guys, let's go to the quarterback risers. Jaxson Dart has looked pretty good. I was not very high on him, going into the NFL draft and during that time of year. Ends up being a first-round pick, and he's had some good-looking moments here at times in August here in the preseason. So, Fitz, when you're looking at a guy like Jaxson Dart, is he moving up your rankings at all in like a super flex league? Are you considering yourself more interested in him than you were before, or is it like you just haven't seen enough? We still need more.
No, I mean, I've been impressed so far, and my concern was that coming from the Lane Kiffin offense at Ole Miss, which I don't think necessarily prepares a quarterback very well for NFL style, but like Dart has handled it really well through 2 preseason games. We know he's not going to play right away, but that is probably the best thing for Jaxson Dart. So I have moved him up a couple of spots. Like I've got him ahead of Justin Fields now. I had to move him past Anthony Richardson. And I could maybe move him up further if he looks good. So I think the people who did spend like a late first round pick on him in rookie drafts have to be feeling pretty good about it right now.
What do you think, Bogman?
Yeah, I got him at QB 24, so he's the last QB2 to me. Of course, if I take him there, I want to take Russell Wilson just so I make sure I have the Giants starter for the entire season. But yeah, I mean, he's looked good, and if Daboll stays, he's the guy next year for sure. Now, the concern is that Jaxson Dart comes in because of an injury or something, and he looks miserable, and then everybody gets fired, and then you might have a Josh Rosen situation here. You know what I mean? But I do think that there is value on him right now.
The other quarterback that I wanted to bring up is Daniel Jones because he is going to be the starter this year. I put Daniel Jones with a big question mark next to him in the show sheet because it's like, we kind of know what he is, obviously. But Shane Steichen, I do think is a strong offensive, play caller and play designer and quarterback friendly if the quarterback can take advantage of that friendliness. There are pass catching pieces on this offense that I have liked in previous drafts that haven't had the quarterback to take advantage of it. He may not be the most accurate quarterback in the world or the most aggressive, but he is more accurate than Anthony Richardson at the very least. So when you look at Daniel Jones as a starter, obviously long term, I don't think any of us have any expectations. But if you're a dynasty team that is win now, would you give up a pick in a super flex to get Daniel Jones if you have a need at the position? Fits?
Someone just offered me Daniel Jones for a 2026 first. And I happen to be like looking at email when that offer came in, and like the rejection went out 10 seconds after the offer came in. And I would say, like, if that would have been on a phone call, it would have been one of those like slam the phone down. I think just the Colts are, sorry, Colts fans, like this organization is just a train wreck. I think it's a stupid decision to like pull the plug on your number 4 draft pick. Like, I don't care how bad he's looked. You knew he was going to be a project. You knew he was a very inexperienced college quarterback. And now he still has not made a full season's worth of starts. He's made 15 NFL starts, and he left a couple of them early with injuries. And like, you're doing this already. It's just so foolish. I don't think Jones is going to be a long-term starter anywhere. Like, everyone needs warm bodies and super flex at quarterback. but that's about all this is. Daniel Jones is a warm body.
Fitz,
Ooh.
I know that like we joke about you being old, but are you telling me that you still have a phone that you can slam down? Because
I do not. I
that's
do
the
not,
downside of
unfortunately.
smartphones is you just have to. I'm so
I
angry.
know.
Let me.
Don't worry,
Yeah.
don't worry, Fitz. This dude
I
wasn't
know.
picking up Adam Sandler references earlier.
I
That's
know
how
who
young
Adam
he
Sandler
is.
is. I've seen
Yeah.
movies. I just didn't get the specific reference from
I
the
know.
mid '90s.
Aggressively pushing the disconnect button on a cell phone is not quite as satisfying as slamming down the landline.
No,
So I do not have a landline, unfortunately.
even when I was like growing up and I didn't have a like a smartphone or even a cell phone yet, because some of the cell phones you could at least kind of like clap it down like quickly, like the flip phones. But like the home phone when I was growing up, when that was still a thing, was one of those like like electric digital ones that you had to like place right in the receiver thing perfectly. You couldn't even really slam
You
that
had to
one. It
charge
was
it.
like
It was a
you're gonna
cordless.
break it or
Yeah.
yeah, whatever. So I didn't get that true slamming phone experience growing up. Bogman, Daniel Jones, like, can we just move on, or is there any interest in like
Look,
in Superflex? You need a guy.
didn't take till week 1 to make me look like an idiot, right? Like,
Yeah.
I was big on Anthony Richardson coming in, and I'm in complete agreement with Fitzy. I think that this is why it surprised me, because I kind of think that Ballard's job is on the line now, right? And you take a player like Richardson at number 4, and he doesn't start for you after year 3, you're setting your franchise back, and it's opened up the floodgates for criticism of him specifically. I heard Dan Patrick talking about it the other day. I saw Greg Olson was asked about it, and his opinion, Greg Olson basically said, look, I think he's admitting that he made a mistake and he's moving on quickly, which if you hold on to those mistakes too long, those GMs tend to get fired. So if he's getting a long leash here, then it's probably just going to be Daniel Jones this year, and that's that. But I don't draft Daniel Jones without making a plan to also have Anthony Richardson, so I have the starter. And I was doing that when I was drafting Anthony Richardson the reverse way, where I would also take Daniel Jones, so I know I have the starter. So I don't think that scenario has changed in your drafting habits. Maybe just switch their spots there. And I feel like if you can acquire Anthony Richardson for a late pick right now, I'm doing it everywhere I possibly can, because we know these first rounders get a long runway to screw up and then try again. It happened with Sam Darnold. He went from the Jets to the Panthers to the Niners to the finally making it with the Vikings, and now he's on the Seahawks for $100 million. So every first round pick, Zach Wilson's still in the league, guys, right? Like, these guys just get a long runway. He could end up being in Pittsburgh next year and making my life miserable there. So I do think Anthony Richardson is a value now that he didn't get the starting job, but obviously you cannot count on anything for him this season. For Daniel Jones in particular, I have him at 25. Like, Fitz, would you rather have Daniel Jones or like Tua for the long term?
Tua.
Okay, I'd rather have Daniel Jones. So that's, I think, right where we're at. So right in that group, it's gross.
You can join our Fantasy Pros Discord community, chat with other fans to get access to exclusive AMAs that wind up on our podcast feed. Here's our current schedule. Boggs and Fitz at 5 Eastern every Tuesday through the end of August. Worm and Fitz, aka myself, and Fitz at 5 Eastern on the first Tuesday of every month. Welsh and Erickson Thursdays at 2 Eastern. Come get your questions answered and be on the show at fantasypros.com/chat. I always feel weird like saying Worm like in the third person. I do mean me. There's not another
We all
Worm
know
here
you're
at Fantasy Pros.
self-absorbed. Come on.
It's funny too. Whenever I meet somebody new, like, it's funny because like everybody at softball calls me Worm. That like whenever we have like a new player like subbing with our team or something, they're like introducing themselves to everybody. I always like, I don't want to be like that guy who's like, hey, you can call me Worm, but I also want to be like, just so you know, when everybody else says Worm, they are talking about me, just so you're not like in the dark. But it sounds like I'm giving myself a nickname when I do that. And I'm like, no, this is just what they call me. I'll respond to either. It's fine. It's always
Well, I mean, it's a little easier to do that when the nickname is Worm as opposed to like Buff. You can call me Buff.
yeah.
Like,
Well, the nickname originally, I'll tell a quick story. So I was an intern for a guy at the radio station back in DC where I first got started in college. And he played a lot of softball. He invited me to play with him because I played baseball in high school. So he was like, oh, you might be pretty good. It was super fun. So that's why I've been playing basically ever since. So because I was his intern at the radio station, I was called Stupid Worm. So he introduced me to everybody at softball as Stupid Worm. And I was like, it'd be nice to have a different nickname than that. So eventually we shortened it to just Worm. But It was even worse than just Worm at one point. It wasn't anything to building myself up. It was mostly meant to knock me down. So, but now it's stuck after over a decade.
I think I used to listen to that guy.
Yes, it was on his show that you and Welsh are fans of Bogman. All right, let's go to the tight ends here. Really just one that I think is worth bringing up, honestly, and it's Tyler Warren. He is somebody that I went into after the draft saying like Colston Loveland went higher. He's tied with Ben Johnson. He did all this great stuff with Sam Laporta. He has a more clear-cut quarterback situation. I like Loveland better. Warren has just looked really good throughout August. Like every time he's on the field, it's just like that just looks like one of the best tight ends in football. And we'll see what the quarterback, iffiness for the Colts does to him. But I think there is a world where he is just like a clear-cut top 5 tight end right off the bat and just gets the usage and has the production that we really want from an elite tight end in Dynasty. So he's looked really good. Bogman, what are some of your early impressions of Tyler Warren, and where does he rank for you at this point in Dynasty?
I think you said it exactly right, Worm. I moved him from 5 to 4, one spot ahead of Loveland. Those are the two guys that are kind of interchangeable to me. If you want to put them ahead of Laporta, I get it. That's fine. I have Laporta at 3 still. So, that's just kind of the way it goes to me. Warren looks better in the preseason. Komet has been more involved than we thought a little bit as well. So, yeah, give the edge to Warren.
Fitz, as recently as 2 weeks ago on one of our Discord stages that we do, the trade block at the beginning of every month, I was disagreeing with you about Warren being ahead of Loveland, but I don't want to overreact to just a couple of preseason games. He just really does look the part, and there are fewer mouths to feed. More of a quarterback question mark, but I just think he's going to be a top 2 target on this offense, maybe even top 1, and be very good this season.
Yep, he's one of the few things the Colts have done right, and he looks phenomenal. And he has played 34 of 35 preseason snaps with the starters. This guy's not going to come off the field. He's going to be a true 3-down tight end for them after their 4-headed tight end last year with Mo Alley Cox, Kylan Granson. Let's see if I can get them all. Andrew Ogletree and Will Mallory.
Oh,
Got them all.
I would not have pulled
I'm
Will
proud
Mallory.
of myself.
No joke.
Yeah.
Of Miami.
So yeah, I think he's going to be terrific. I had Colston Loveland ranked ahead of him post draft. I've moved Warren ahead, and I don't care that Tyler Warren is older and was kind of a 1-year wonder as far as college production, but there were some other good tight ends playing ahead of Tyler Warren at Penn State. So I think the dude's special. He can not only catch, but also run and even throw as a former high school quarterback. He is going to be a fun guy to watch. He's probably the most fun thing about the Indianapolis Colts right now.
He's Jeremy Shockey 2.0, man. That's what he reminds me of. He's just running dudes down, not afraid of contact at all.
It won't surprise me if Loveland has a better season, but at this point, I think you have to rank Warren higher.
It would surprise me if Loveland had a better season.
I think Loveland's really good, and again, Ben Johnson, just the Sam Laporta connection, my jaw wouldn't be on the floor, but I would have Warren ahead of him.
If you can get Loveland 2 rounds later than where you get Warren, Fitz, are you taking Loveland all day? Is it still that close, or is it just I'd
still rather have Warren. I don't know. I would feel good about starting Warren in week 1. I wouldn't feel good about starting Loveland in week 1.
Okay, so what would the round separator be then? 3 rounds?
I just don't want Loveland as my starting tight end.
Okay.
Are you talking redraft, Bogman?
Yeah, well, I'm saying for Dynasty. I want to know, if you can get
in redraft, I think Warren should be going multiple rounds higher than Loveland is correct.
So
I do think they should be closer in Dynasty still.
Well, yeah,
in a startup, I guess 2 rounds. If you're drafting rookies in the startup, sure.
Okay,
2 rounds is about right.
Okay,
yeah. Let's run through quickly some of the deeper league guys. We don't need to spend a ton of time on them just because they're kind of like I said, deeper, and who knows really how much impact they're going to make in year 1, but they flashed enough that it's worth kind of hitting on them. So I'll just read through a couple of names here. You guys can highlight the 1 or 2 that you really like. Efton Chisholm has been really exciting. Roman Wilson, Dante Thornton, Damian Martinez, Devon Vele, and Isaiah Bond for various reasons for these guys. But Bogman, who kind of stands out to you among that group that intrigues you?
I mean, the Steelers keep looking for a number 2 wide receiver and not trading for one because it seems like they like Roman Wilson, and he was drafted early last season and then kind of forgotten about, excuse me, and he just has a chance here. Like it's, Calvin Austin I think is pretty good, but hasn't moved himself. He hasn't done anything spectacular to cement his role there. So I think that's an interesting one. I mean, Isaiah Bond seems like he might be pushing Deontay Johnson off the Browns roster already. So I put him in like the 80s. I think I put him. Who would you rather have, Fitzy, Bond or Savion Williams?
Probably Bond, just because he's a more conventional wide receiver.
I
I
put him
think.
between Savion and Jalen Royals. That's right where I put him. So somewhere in that neighborhood is where I have him. Dante Thornton getting more push than Besh is kind of surprising. I mean, Besh was kind of a tweener, so maybe not so surprising that he's struggling to start. But Thornton didn't do much in college. He's just big and fast and has a lot of upside, and he's been turning a lot of heads. I think those are the guys I'm most interested in out of that group.
Fitz, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, Dante Thornton, a 6'5" guy with 4.3 speed is going to get my attention anyway. And the fact that he is like clearly outplayed Jack Bash in training camp is pretty eye opening. So he's probably the guy I would be most interested in rostering out of the guys you mentioned, Worm. And yeah, like it is going to be interesting to see what sort of role Isaiah Bond has, because he was such an afterthought after being undrafted and then not even signed with the legal issues he had over his head. But as soon as those went away, and it was decided that he wasn't going to be charged for anything, like, yeah, I mean, he's a person who should be rostered in every league and could potentially turn into a difference maker. Like, we know the quarterback situation is kind of weird and gross, and Bond came in late and is probably not going to make an early impact. But as a guy who a lot of people were thinking was going to be a first round NFL draft pick coming into the 2024, well, I don't know, coming into the 2024 college season, I think a lot of people were viewing Bond as a potential first rounder in the 2025
So big in the
NFL
playoff
draft.
with Alabama, like down the stretch for them
Yeah.
the year before, and then was great for Texas initially before Golden took over.
This is primarily like a positive episode, like guys who are risers and standouts. Bogman did think it was worth it, and Fitz and I agreed to at least quickly hit on some of these guys that maybe are not making the type of noise we wanted to see them make this summer, and maybe they will be notable to people listening, maybe not, but guys that we found notable that were not included on this list that weren't maybe doing what we were hoping to see to try and get more hype out of them so far in August. And obviously, like, we're not ruling out these guys for their whole careers or anything, but some of the names that Bogman suggested we hit on quickly: Kyle Williams, Bayshall Tootin, Jack Besh. Bogman, any thoughts on those guys?
Yeah, we've hit on Besh and Tootin already. So, kind of they're just getting pushed down. Kyle Williams is really rather surprising because they just don't have a lot of talent in that wide receiver room. You'd think he'd make a big noise. And if we just, Polk is what we thought about this last year, and he just is now out for the year after a surgery. So kind of disappointing that he's not moving. I moved Tootin down. I didn't move Williams down too much. I was already fairly, I think, lower than consensus on Williams a little bit, but and Besh really making no waves either is a little surprising. So I don't know, just a little helium coming off these guys. I'm not going to react too much and plummet them, but they have moved down my rankings a little bit.
Fitz?
I wouldn't panic on Kyle Williams with the people who drafted him. I do think people maybe thought, like, hey, if things broke right, he could be the number 2 wide receiver for the Patriots from the get-go. But maybe we underestimated Demario Douglas, and maybe we even underestimated Kayshon Boutte a little bit, who apparently is earning himself a
Kyle
role.
Williams has had no snaps with the starters yet. Same thing for Tootin. Like, those guys just have not played with starters yet.
Yeah, I mean, Tootin I'm okay with. Like, we knew this was going to be messy, and I'm not surprised that he did not like shove aside ETN or Bigsby in training camp. I think it's going to take time, but I wouldn't be surprised if he had a prominent role by the end of the season. I mean, I think the one guy here to panic on is Bash. Like, if you spend a second or third round rookie pick on Bash, you can't feel good about it right now, because apparently he's like, he just doesn't look fast. He's having trouble beating press coverage. It's just, and being outplayed by Dante Thornton, a guy drafted significantly later. It's like just not a good sign.
I really liked Besh and really wanted him in the second round in drafts, and he never got to me. And so now that looks like, blessing in disguise. Honestly, like similar for Tootin, even though, like you said, Fitz, that was always going to be kind of a noisy, weird backfield to try and manage this season. I want to wrap up just quickly with you guys each picking one rookie that officially this is the guy that you think will be the biggest surprise of the 2025 season. You can view that through the prism of taking a big leap in dynasty value. You can view that through the prism of a guy who will just provide a lot of value this season, even if it's not long-term. Who's the biggest surprise of 2025? You can go first, Fitz.
I'm going to say Shedeur Sanders. Like, there are a lot of people who think his slide into the 5th round of the draft happened because he's not good. And I would contend that there were just not many teams and coaching staffs and front offices willing to have Deion Sanders hovering over their organization, because Deion might potentially be interested in being a head coach for wherever Shedeur is playing. So I understand why no one wanted to deal with that. And I think it was more about that than anything lacking in Shedeur's game, because he is a pro style passer, a dude who throws with timing and anticipation and accuracy, can maneuver around in the pocket. Like, there was a lot of good stuff on his tape. And, I just think the people who wanted to dump on Shedeur and think he's terrible because he slid into the 5th round, I don't know. I think he's going to make some starts for the Browns this year, and I think he'll acquit himself well and, give the Browns kind of a dilemma going into 2026 when they're holding all this draft capital and they have to figure out what they're going to do at quarterback.
Arguably should have been included in the quarterback segment. I mean, I just felt like with the injury stuff, we didn't see enough to say this guy is rocketing up boards or anything. But
we saw one really nice preseason performance, but it's I'm not basing this just on that.
Yeah.
But I do think he's going to surprise people.
I felt like too that performance was more good than great. I thought the ESPN commercial or Nike or whatever it was afterwards was a bit much.
Yes.
But it was, it was a good game from him. Bogman, what do you think? Who's your kind of one rookie you want to highlight?
Man, there's so many to pick from. I think one of Fitzy's guys that is getting a little bit of late buzz in camp, Emeka Embuka, has been moving around in this offense. In motion, he's the motion guy a lot. And they motion on, I think it was 60% of plays last season. So if he's going to be that guy, he's going to be on the field a ton. We're kind of not talking about him a lot right now, and yeah, I think he's just a forgotten guy. I would take him still ahead of Dante Thornton. Dante Thornton's getting way more buzz than him, and I still want Emeka Embuka over him. So I think that's a dude that's moving up, because I also I could easily pick Cam Ward here because I just think he's a stud. But let's one of his teammates, Emeka Embuka, I think is going to take a big step up and be one of those initial waiver wire ads.
All right, we'll go ahead and wrap things up there. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to our preseason dynasty standouts, risers, however you want to frame it. For Bogman and Fitz, I'm Ryan Wormeli. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.